What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Daz Studio 68, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin, Henrik 86, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Maria Neelands, Matt, Missouri Bear, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Qatar Craig, Renee, Rob H, Sally Ballis, Silver Umbrella, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, where am I? Steve ALM, FlatEarthChannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tom Hawkins, Unbelievable Productions, and Windrider. So a massive shout out of thanks to all of you who do support me on Patreon. Now we are joined by a few people in both Discord and G+, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for the next live show.
But you ain't gonna inject me, that's for sure.
Yeah, my family has a pretty good clean bill of health.
That's not gonna matter when they make it mandatory
I know what
if
you
it
mean.
goes that way. If it goes that way.
But I'm just saying I never felt the need for it.
I haven't had I haven't seen a doctor in over 10 years. And that was for something else. When I got bit by a wild dog, but I had to go to emergency and all that. But no, forces out there against mankind, letting us live freely. They don't like that.
Yeah. And I also noticed too that hold on. That if you eat healthy and stuff like that, yeah, you really don't get sick. And if you just keep detoxified enough.
Mm-hmm. And
So
if you do, your body builds an immune system to fight it. So it's all good.
Yeah. So there's just things that I know from like personal experience too that confirm with what some things other people say, kind of thing.
I have so many people who are like the umbilical cord is stuck to the government and the news, and they just go with that narrative. And then when and we see it with flat Earth, right? We say flat Earth, they think we're crazy because that same source umbilical cord is tied to pushing the globe model and all these other lies. So trying to get these people to think for themselves is a hard task these days.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Even my sister is now with the extra time off. She's like really digging into this, to investigating things, and now she's starting to talk about it with her friends. And now she's finding out, oh my goodness, like just what you said.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you seek, you will find.
Yep.
You bury your head in the sand and trust other people with your future, you're going to be surprised.
Still quite upsetting when it's your family and you're just trying to communicate something that's not even conspiratorial, something that you've looked up and is mainstream accepted knowledge, and you show that to them, it's just contradicting what the news is saying, and they don't want to accept it.
Yeah, it's family is all the emotions are there, all those memories, and then you want them to at least talk about it, put the topic on the table, and that brainwashing power of the TV and the systems that are in place. Instead of family saying, gee, you've got 17, 18,000 followers on the YouTube channel. Huh? What are you doing, and why is it successful, and what did you find out, and share with us. Instead of that attitude, and me on a much smaller scale, it's like mocking, laughing. You're crazy. You're one of these conspiracy theorist guys. And then they make statements like, well, based on that, I'm never going to believe anything he says. It's like, really? You got your head in the sand. Government's force feeding you lies, and you're not going to believe anything I'm going to say.
Yep. They'll defend it in exactly the same way as it's being portrayed. So, or at least that's true of my family. No, the news said this, so the news is right.
Yeah, same here. The spell that they cast on people is the same.
Yeah, the problem, as I say, is anything that you put up as a challenge to any current rhetoric that's on the news, their defence, or in the case of my family, the defence that they come up with is, well, this is what the news said. You know what I mean? So it's like, and that therefore is absolutely 100% accurate, regardless of what you say to me. Why else would they publish it?
Yep. I remember I referenced your show to a friend of mine, and he said, yeah, keep sending him. So I kept sending him your show, and he got back to me and says, I shared the arguments, the housekeeping questions, and like my own son doesn't believe, and my wife's almost there, but blah blah blah, but they're fighting it, and so now I've been sending him some stuff about the current situation, and the same people that gave him that kind of response to flat Earth arguments are giving him the same on what's going on with the virus and what the government's saying. And he says, keep sending those videos on, the lie about the virus and all that, and how they're promoting it. And so I did, and then he gets back to me with the same story, except this time instead of flat Earth, it's the virus, and it's the same people, same cast of characters.
Yeah, exactly the same story here. Yeah. I watched all the videos you sent me. Oh, brilliant. What did you think? Yeah, brilliant. However, the news said... You're like, yeah, the videos I've sent are indeed contradicting the mainstream narrative. That's right. They're contradicting it, and they're giving their reasons. But the images they showed us and what they said on the news was X. And they said that on the telly. So that's true, and the backed up argument and evidence provided in anything you gave us can be immediately disregarded because the news says otherwise.
It's funny you used the word X. They can't find their X now.
It's like how do I say? They gotta like wake up to something. If they're not woke up to anything, it seems like it's really a daunting task to get through them. Like when I look at my past, it was like, breadcrumbs of, hey, this doesn't seem right, that doesn't seem right, and then you just start questioning, right? And then you just get...
Well, why'd you wake up, Righteous?
Well, like I said, I was just questioning some things, and of course I didn't believe everything that the mainstream said. And
So
then,
if Nathan's show today airs and you heard it today for the first time, forgetting about everything up to now, you are the type of person that would listen to the arguments and say, "Huh, well, that show made some good points." Now, you would do that today because that's the same you today as it was back then when you discovered and led you this route now, right?
okay, I see what you're saying. But I think starting with something like FE would be too strong cognitive dissonance wise. It'd have
It
to
all
be like a smaller
depends.
breadcrumb. But I know what you're
Yeah.
saying.
I agree
Hang
with
on,
you,
hang on.
Righteous. With tip of the spear, this is the pinnacle of the argument. Sounds bold, it's just true. This is the tip of the spear, and therefore, anybody who comes as a newbie, it catches us off guard. When you get a newbie question, you have to suddenly wrap your head back to about 5 years ago and go, hold on, and then think the standard answer for this is something I don't necessarily agree with anymore, i.e. the model that would have been presented in 2015 to somebody with a newbie question. And you go, you kind of have a little cognitive break because it's a newbie. Then when you get into explaining things like you don't have a geometric horizon now, that's going to go straight over the head of a newbie.
Can I disagree on one point?
Go ahead.
Logic and soundness to the logic. Even if when I listen to things, and if they make logic, if it's logical and it's sound and it's really wild, I say, huh, I really can't argue with that, but it's so way out there. I'm going to have to look into it. See, that's how I respond to things that are tip of the spear kind of stuff.
Maybe you, but
And
your average Joe normie will just flip between pillar and post in terms of their presumed definition of reality. So, for instance, we give the full rendition of the Black Swan, explain it for 5 minutes, get them to nod along so you know they're actually engaged in the logic, and they agree. Chances are the next thing out of their mouth will be, what about pictures from space? And then you're into another 5 to 10 minutes explaining gas pressure without a container. And that conversation, but just from them going, well, what about this? Well, what about that? Could take 3 hours. Now, it's not to say that you haven't got an answer to everything, but that's just your normal behaviour.
Yes, and some of the 2015 arguments would be astronauts with harnesses and wires in a place where they shouldn't be needing harnesses and wires and blue and green screens. So when you put it all together, not just the one thing, not just one of the housekeeping questions, but you put it all together and you bring it that way. Say, okay, look, I agree you're looking at pictures from presupposed space. But if you're in space, why do you need harnesses to hold you up? What? What harnesses? Here, let me show you. Oh my gosh, that astronaut's got a harness. Okay, so boom, another layer of the onion is peeled. So I'm not saying it takes 3 hours or 3 weeks or 3 months. It takes what it takes, depending on the person. Not if someone already believes 9/11 was an inside job and they lied about Building 7, and all the wars that ever started had different storylines than the one we're being fed, they're going to be easier to get because they already know that we're being lied to on a mass scale on so many other things.
Yeah, but they're not normies. You're not describing normies.
Exactly. This is my point. Righteous was not ever a normie. And so when he saw it, he caught it and he investigated. And you need that time, whatever that time is for Righteous. And so when he was saying it's hard to get through these people, like I was saying, it's hard to get through these people, and you were saying families the hardest, we all agree. But guess what? They're normies.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally... Yeah, when it comes to my family that I'm describing, absolutely, they're normies. I don't disagree one bit.
Yeah, mine too. And I see if there's one common denominator is curiosity and that ability to think outside the box. And I sit down with some of my friends, and some of them are on this side with me, but don't know all the arguments. But they say, "Hey, go tell them what you told me," and so they're promoting me. And then the other side doesn't even want to talk, but they're the normies, and I could never have any kind of conversation with them that's outside of that box.
Yeah.
They freak out.
Yeah, absolutely. or just shut down completely? No, you're just wrong.
Yeah.
No, this is just wrong.
Yeah, my mother, my dear mother, shook her head and covered her ears with her hands. And I'm watching it, and I'm saying, oh my gosh, my own mother.
But it is a journey of discovery. It's, even if you are a reasonably curious person, you've still been cognitively trained, in most instances through comprehensive education, to seek out the answer that's already been found from an authoritative figure and then repeat it. And that's your comprehensive understanding of anything you ask a question to. So even that wonderment that we were describing yesterday can be stifled by a training program that allows you to seek out an easy answer that has seemingly most bases covered, and then leave it at that, move on with your life. I always refer to the scene in The Truman Show where Truman's like, I want to be an explorer. Teacher pulls down the map and says, it's already all been discovered. There's nothing to do, there's nothing to explore. So his discovery in that moment is trained into his psyche as being, there's an authoritative figure that will show me what is to be discovered, and here it is. But if you train that out of people, it takes a time. Like you say, it might be a journey of progression in layers of onions, as you used as an analogy, where you peel off the first layer and realise that there's fakery afoot in terms of what they claim takes place in a place that isn't real. That would be the second law of thermodynamics violation, known as the sky vacuum or outer space. And that onion layer might not be all you need to figure out that you're not living on a sphere based on a geometry that's bunk and pictures from a place that isn't real. It's not going to be that quick. You'll start peeling back more and more onions and hearing the rebuttals as you've been trained to go out and find them for the problems that seem to be problems, because you've got this understanding that you're on a sphere. So anything that's challenging that idea is a problem that needs to be solved for an inquisitive person, and their training, again, brings them back to how they were trained in their comprehensive education. Do a quick Google search, go to the man in the white coat. What does he say? Well, there you go, there's your solution. And because you're essentially cognitively training yourself, you then go back to the person that's presented you with the information and challenge them and go, here you go. Like I said earlier with the news. Well, news says, well, man in white coat says, and look, it even says science. so science says otherwise. And then you're into that layer of onion being peeled back in terms of exposing the pseudoscience they use on mainstream media or Google searches or TV or whatever, to brainwash you into a particular way of thinking. And the chances are, if you just stay on that layer of the onion and you try and trace back how that layer grew to be, most of the time you find that it's just normal individuals who've done the same exact process. Oh, this is a problem. How do we resolve that problem? Well, I can resolve it thusly. Well, let's publish that. That's just not a guy who's out to lie and, the demon that's perpetuating the heliocentric deception. No, it's just a normal Joe that's inadvertently smeared a layer of bullshit on top of a model that's bunk. But they don't know it, and that layer upon layer upon layer of nonsense described by you as the onion can be peeled back relatively easily. Back to an analogy from Wakey Wakey or Mark Knight, where he described the globe to me in an interview as being like a papier-mâché ball. From a distance it seems really solid, but then you go and touch it and your finger goes straight through. And if enough people are poking it, the holes become so severe that the thing falls to pieces. You can see the daylight straight through it, there's nothing inside. Like Mark Sargent describing looking for the evidence and finding tons of boxes, a room full of boxes, with evidence written on every one of them in great big red letters. Evidence for the globe. You open each box, it's full of styrofoam, packing paper, if we can get it out, and there's nothing at the bottom. It's just an empty box. You know what I mean? So these layers, these onion layers, are all the same analogy. It's just an empty layer that's a papier-mâché layer easily pulled away to reveal daylight on the other side.
I totally agree, but there's a caveat to that. I'm more like chocolate, or chocolate's more like me since I'm older. I don't know. It doesn't matter which order. When I was going through school and they said all this stuff, I fought it. I don't know why I fought it, but I fought it. I didn't believe it. I argued with them, and they said, look, I don't even believe it. Just answer it the way it's taught. I have to teach it this way. So I tucked it. I tucked it in somewhere. I don't know, because I didn't care anymore. Then because I didn't go to college, I went right from high school into business. I didn't get more brainwashing, so to speak. And then when I first saw flat Earth, it was like it woke up something that was tucked away. And I went to my wife and I said, "Oh my gosh." She goes, "What?" And I had this look in my face. I said, "I have to approach this as if I don't have a bias towards it because I've always known this. But now there's evidence, I believe." She goes, "What are you talking about?" And I go, "The Earth is flat." And her face was like, "What?" And I go, "No, hang on. I have to approach this to prove the flat earther argument wrong because I've always known it was right, but with no proof really. And now I think the proof is out there for some reason. And that's how I came into flat Earth. It was this stupid article about Julian Assange and 40 pictures of Antarctica. And I'm saying, what has that got to do with WikiLeaks? And that started it. And then when I went to go prove it wrong, I said, "I'm going to buy me a P900. I'm going to do that thing and see if that's actually what they say." So I went through this road, and I couldn't prove it wrong, but I always knew it was, the globe was wrong. I just didn't have proof other than just my own senses. And I was an anomaly, I guess, along the way. But the years I never talked about it is because who am I going to talk to about it? It's not like it's the subject in school. Take this extra credit for flat Earth arguments or anything. So I was a rebel all my life, and I think rebels get it quicker.
Do you have any proof now, 10th man?
What's that?
Do you have any proof for flat Earth now, 10th
Oh,
man?
yes, I do. Can I ask you a question?
I'd love to hear your proof of flat Earth.
Yeah.
please.
Can
Thank
I
you.
ask you? Can I ask it to you in a question?
Yeah.
Is there any fixed values that apply to the real world? And I'm referencing, of course, based on the 3,959-mile radius. Is it an actual location, the geometric horizon? Does it actually exist, or is it a thought experiment?
Yeah, it exists on the surface of the sphere of the Earth, just like longitude and latitude exist. They're real places.
Okay. All right.
Right?
No, they're
So
not.
then,
Longitude and latitude are real places.
No, they're not. They're
With some
concepts.
long line.
No, they're not.
yes, I agree. They're just concepts, but let me continue with Brenda here. So just like you say they exist, which the X that marks the spot on the globe model at a 1 foot observer height, that geometric horizon must exist no more than 1.23 miles
Yes.
so why does it not exist if it's actuality?
Yeah, I understand the argument.
Well, then
hon.
answer the question.
I did. So
It's
in
not
my
there.
city in Minneapolis here.
No.
In my
We're
city
talking
in
about
Minneapolis
the black swan,
here,
the
we
picture. No, stick
I was
in
going to give you an
Minneapolis.
example.
all
Also, don't need an example. He's giving you a question about the geometric horizon. You said, "I understand," and I have answered. You haven't answered anything. He's asking you about the black swan. He's giving you a rendition of the argument. Now you're going back to what your childhood in Minnesota, like we care. We don't need an example. We need an answer for why we haven't got a geometric horizon that's 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. We already know the answer. We haven't got one. I went through it with you yesterday. We don't have a geometric horizon, according to your own side. So you haven't answered anything. We don't need to know about your childhood in Minnesota.
That's not true. We do have a geometric horizon, and everybody acknowledges that we do.
Okay, point it out in the black swan image.
You can't see it in the black.
Well, then we
swan.
haven't got one. You can't see it means we haven't got one. No, excuse me. Hold on. We haven't
That
got
doesn't
one.
follow.
We can't see
It
it.
doesn't follow.
It doesn't follow that
doesn't
something we can't
follow.
see we've actually got, Brenda. Yeah, you've just said we can't see it.
Yeah.
So
it
if we
doesn't
can't... Brenda,
follow.
shut up. Shut up. If we can't see it, it is not there. Now, the explanation we've had as a result of
see
that...
the air?
Brenda,
Can you see
is
the
it going to be
air,
a quick
Nathan?
visit again where I
Can you
kick
see
you out
the
because you
air?
cannot shut up while I'm talking? If it is not there, we cannot see it. Therefore, we can't draw a line to it. And according to you, the answer for that, the explanation for that on your side, is that all the lines to it are bent. It's refracted. So we can't draw a straight line to it for any mathematics of geometry. We can't derive an R value from a high mountain. We can't do anything in regards to the globe model, because your defence to that question is that we cannot see a geometric horizon, as you've just declared. So we don't have one, it's not visible, it's game over globe geometry. No matter rumpusing and talking through this concise summary of the death of the heliocentric assertion that we have globe geometry based on a physical geometric Earth curve edge, formerly called the geometric horizon, won't change the death being slow for you. It's still the death. You don't have a geometric horizon. You've just admitted it.
No, I didn't admit it.
So now you're a liar. You just told us you can't see it. I asked you to show it us. You said you can't see it. Therefore, it is not there. It is not visible. We haven't got one. Your justification for that, when we get you to tie rather than lie to that actual argument that we haven't got one, as declared by you, is to explain that it's actually refracted, therefore no straight lines, no geometry. Don't lie. That's what you just said. We can't see it. Therefore, not there.
No, you're affirming the consequent. That's affirming the consequent. That's fallacious. You said
Brenda,
correctly
Hold on.
if something doesn't exist. You said correctly that if something doesn't exist, we can't see it. And then you concluded if we can't see it, it doesn't exist. That's affirming the consequent, and that's...
Sorry, if you can't see it, then what is there to measure physically? Geometric measurements are going to be made to physical tangent points. That's what geometry is. Do you not understand what geometry is? Measuring physicality at a tangent point where it touches the physical surface. Shut up! Why are you talking through me? Yeah, it would be about physicality if you're doing geometry. So what are you babbling about, saying that we can do physical geometry if we cannot see it? If we cannot see it, we can't draw a line to it physically. So you're talking complete nonsense, and now you're interrupting me. Well, shock. Interrupt me one more time, Brenda, and I'm going to remove you from the conversation. Because you've talked through me, I'll summarise my point again. I'll see how much she tolerates it. If you can't see it, then you can't perform the physical geometry required. That would be drawing a straight line to the point you claim is curved, called a tangent. That's a physical point. And if we can't see it, we can't do geometry. Ergo, bye-bye geometry. Asserting that it is still there, and we'll just pretend to draw to it, is to assert that you'll only be doing these mathematics in your reified model. Because it's not there, we can't see it. So you do your maths to something that's not there on your model that doesn't exist with a horizon that isn't the horizon we see. We'll point out that you're doing geometry based on something non-physical that you can't see. Okay, love?
So that's affirming the consequent. Just because if something isn't there, you can't see it. That's correct. But then affirming the consequent would be saying, I can't see it, therefore it isn't there. That's fallacious. That
affirming the consequent is if P then Q.
Logical fallacy.
Yeah, I heard. If P then Q, Q therefore P is affirming the consequent.
Yeah.
So lay it out. What's P and Q?
Brenda, exist,
Brenda. So what is P? What is Q? And why does one not follow the other? Go.
P is if something does not exist. Q, you cannot see it. There you go.
So if something does not exist, you cannot see it. That would be if
Correct.
P.
If something
then
does not
Q.
exist, you cannot see it. Your formulation is, I can't see it, therefore it does not exist. It's fallacious. It's affirming the consequent.
Not fallacious when you qualify it with the terms that are mandated by the mathematics you're using. Geometry is describing physicality, and you can't measure something physically if you can't see it. So no, it's not fallacious. It's logically sound because it does indeed follow that if you cannot see a geometric physical location, then you cannot measure it. That's absolutely sound. Unless you're going to tell me that you can measure something that you can't see. How are you going to measure it? You can't see it.
You can calculate.
Oh, calculate?
Just
No.
the way-
No. Not calculate. Measure.
Calculation is measurement.
Oh, really? So we're going to measure to this physical location called the geometric horizon that we can't see, are we? We're going to measure to that point that we can't see, are we? No, we're not, Brenda. We can't measure to something we... Excuse me, it was rhetorical. No, I'm just going to point out for the bonehead. We're definitely not going to be able to measure something we can't see. We can't see it. That's not logically fallacious. That's perfectly sound.
No, you can calculate it.
And I'm talking about measuring it physically, running a tape measure to a point that's supposed to be physical and geometric and capable of measurement. And you're going to extrapolate and calculate based on something you can't see because you've decided it's fallacious to say we can do a physical measurement to something we can't physically see. That's not fallacious. It's perfectly sound to say if I can't see it, I can't measure it. That's not unreasonable, not fallacious, and your assertion that I'm going to calculate something that I can't see is absolutely unreasonable.
Are you saying we can't see the apparent horizon, Nathan?
The geometric horizon we can't see, and that's the one in your model. We've only got one horizon, and the horizon in your model is marked with an X, labelled with the word horizon, and geometric. It can't not be. It's a geometric model. But according to you, on this very discussion, we can't see it. So we can't see the singular one on its own, alone. Horizon marked with an X, labelled horizon in your model and geometric. We can't see that, according to you. The apparent, by definition, all horizons are at the apparent position where the sky appears to meet the ground. Redundant terminology, because it's an apparent position where the sky appears to meet the ground. So not an apparent position where the sky appears to meet the ground apparently. That's all redundant. A horizon is a horizon. We've only got one. Yours is geometric. And according to you, we can't see it, so we can't measure it.
In the Al-Brunei method, you measure the dip from eye level down to the horizon.
Yeah, and he'd be measuring a non-geometric, non-physical location. So who gives a shit what he was measuring? It wasn't a physical location. It certainly wasn't the geometric horizon. That would be impossible. So his measurements are meaningless. The higher he went, the more layers of the thinning out atmosphere he'd be looking through as well. So he'd have increased effects of the refraction you all use as a defence and simultaneously buries your model. Because you're going to be needing straight lines to that physical geometric location he assumes when he makes this measurement. Number one, he's looking through different layers of atmosphere high up on a mountain, therefore lots of refraction, therefore no straight line. And two, we can't see a geometric horizon ever, it's impossible, so he's not measuring a straight line to a physical point that he can't see, he hasn't got the point to see, and he hasn't got a straight line to it. So Al-Biruni is debunked.
Are you admitting that the horizon does not rise to eye level?
I don't give a crap about what the horizon does. I don't make an argument about it being a physical geometric obstruction of boats, buildings, and curving at altitude into a sphere shape when you visit the second law of thermodynamics violation known as the sky vacuum or outer space to you fundy morons. I don't make any claims about this nonsense. This is your claim, so accept the fact that you've got a claim. I haven't.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut, no, live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Righteous Force, the Adam Meakin and 10th Man, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Afternoon, everyone.
So I wanted to thank Nathan for admitting that the horizon does not rise to eye level.
Sorry, I didn't deny or make that claim. I said I don't make that claim. I didn't deny that claim.
Yes,
either.
you did. Yes, you did.
No,
Yes,
he
you did.
didn't.
No, I didn't.
No, he
You're a
didn't.
liar. So you don't have Earth
You're
curve geometry. So let's just round out what I summarised with Brenda then. So with the discussion before the show started, we summarised with Brenda how she doesn't have a geometric horizon. According to her, we don't see it. And we don't have any straight lines for geometry to be done because everything's refracted. So we don't have any Earth curve geometry to assert with the Earth curve geometric calculator that's been used to compare to pictures for the last 4 years on this show. So we don't have any of that nonsense that's been asserted here. According to Brenda, we don't see a geometric horizon, towing the line with every other fundy that comes here. If we don't have a geometric horizon, the thing marked with an X and labelled horizon in their geometric model, then their model isn't what we see. So it's bye-bye globe model. Brenda admits it like the rest of them. She doesn't have a geometric horizon, we can't see it. She seemed to think, as a defence, that I'd affirm the consequent by saying, if we can't see something, it's not there, therefore it doesn't exist. That was her argument. And I said, no, geometry is about measuring to something physically, and if we can't see it, we can't measure to it. So no, it doesn't undo the fact that your geometry's done with this argument of the Black Swan, Brenda. So you did very badly, but you think you got a win because what? I didn't argue with you about the horizon rising to eye level? I don't think I've ever even voiced that argument, ever. I haven't denied it either, before you start twisting my words. But while we're on the subject, is there any evidence of a physical geometric Earth curve edge, formerly known as the geometric horizon, marked with an X labelled horizon in the now debunked geometric model? Anybody at all?
Yes, of course. Yes,
right.
Of course there
Nope.
is.
What's the evidence of a
Copious-
physical geometric Earth
copious-
curve edge, formerly known as the geometric horizon, marked with an X labelled horizon and denied in the pre-show as ever being able to be seen? By you.
Photographs from space and ships going over the horizon.
Sorry, ships going over a geometric physical Earth curve edge obstruction that you said we can't see in the pre-show. No, that's debunked immediately by your own words only 10 minutes ago. Space, outer space, what, the thing that's currently being stated would have to suck out all the atmosphere if we were to see the geometric horizon. No, space is fake. That's a second law of thermodynamics violation. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we're all breathing would expand and fill that space. Entropy debunks outer space, Brenda. Given that there's no such place as outer space, you definitely haven't got any pictures from a second law of thermodynamics violation known as outer space, because that place isn't real. So you definitely haven't got pictures from there.
We do, though.
No, you don't. The
Brent-
place isn't real. It's Narnia. You don't have pictures of a place from a place that is not real. Outer space is fake. You can't have gas pressure without a container. We have gas pressure here. We're breathing it. And according to your religion of a sky vacuum, the gas pressure's not contained. You got little ships flying out to Mars and the moon. So no, according to the religion of sphericity, you've got a sky vacuum above gas pressure, violating a natural law. Ergo, that place isn't real. We haven't got a sky vacuum called outer space. If we did, we wouldn't be breathing. Because natural law dictates that gas expands to fill the available volume. And an available volume in your religion of a sphere would be that space called space. A vacuum, according to your religion. The gas is going to want to fill that if that was true. We've still got gas, therefore sky's definitely not a vacuum. We're definitely not going to have any pictures taken from there.
We do have pictures, though. and it is a vacuum, and the air doesn't escape there.
Well, that's just a declaration of your religious fundamentalist belief that you can have a natural law violation in the form of a sky vacuum. Gas law doesn't bend at whim to your ideas about the sky being a vacuum. It isn't. If it was, the gas would fill the space. It's called entropy.
Except it's still there.
Except in your religion, the sky vacuum's still there. Yeah, we know you still believe it's a sky vacuum. Natural law says otherwise.
But that's it doesn't care. The universe.
Natural law doesn't care about your religion in a sky vacuum. Natural law's very well established. Gas will fill the space. If it has space to fill, gas expands in all directions. That is the nature of gas. The nature of a vacuum is that it's a space for the gas to fill. So it's gonna fill it if it can, and there's nothing stopping it filling it. According to your religion of a sphere Earth in a vacuum, you've got little ships travelling through the vacuum because they've left the gas we're breathing without any restriction. No container. Violating natural law. Space is fake. No pictures will have been taken from a place that isn't real.
Then why doesn't the gas escape into space? Since
It would if it was real. It isn't real. Therefore, we don't have the sky vacuum. The fact that you're asking me why gas doesn't expand into a vacuum is to ask me why we can have a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. We can't have a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill the space.
but it doesn't.
Yep, therefore space is fake. Therefore no sky vacuum. The fact that we're still breathing means the sky isn't a space for the gas to fill. Space is fake.
I think we got a welcome
But there
to
is
flat
a
Earth
vacuum,
moment.
and the air doesn't escape to it.
No, that's a violation of natural law. Just declaring that what she's just described, ladies and gentlemen, is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. No, we do have a vacuum, and no, the gas isn't expanding to fill it. That's a violation of natural law. I also appreciate that's the very basis of a religious belief in space. It doesn't mean space is real. It violates natural law. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space.
But there is a space, so
No, there isn't. Only in your religion. Just saying that there is doesn't mean there is. You're not attacking my rebuttal. That would be the natural law violation your religion's based on. It's not a rebuttal to say, yeah, there is.
but it's true. There is a
That's not a rebuttal. Saying it's true isn't a rebuttal. Showing me a violation of natural law and undoing the second law of thermodynamics, demonstrating that you can have a gas without a container. That's how you show it's true. Show me gas not expanding to fill a vacuum. Show it me. Without pointing at the sky vacuum and saying, there it is, there's my religion, proving my religion. Without pointing at your fundamentalist religious belief that the sky is a vacuum, show me gas pressure without a container.
the Earth, the air.
That's your religious belief! You dumb cow! How fucking stupid is she? That's your religious belief. I'm asking you to prove your religious belief, not just declare that your religious belief makes your religious belief true. That's circular reasoning.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's a hand wave dismissal. Yes, it is. I believe the sky is a vacuum. Will prove that you can have gas pressure without a container. The Earth is gas pressure without a container. That's circular reasoning.
Yes.
Yes, I know. So don't do it. Stop begging the question and assuming your outcome. If your outcome is that the sky is a vacuum, you need to actually prove it, not just assume it as a proof of it. For God's sake.
People have been there.
Oh, really? I'm going to defer to what the TV showed me. Oh, right. That's not a defence either. That's not a demonstration that attacks my actual argument. That's an appeal to consensus fallacy. I have got an argument. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill the space. I've got a support cowbell. That would be the second law of thermodynamics, the entropy law. Now, you're not attacking that. You're going to a consensus opinion that the TV says men have visited a sky vacuum. No, they have not. Because if they visited a sky vacuum, then the gas we breathe would fill the space. This is a straw man, red herring, obfuscation that appeals to consensus.
Except they went there and there...
That's just another declaration of the exact same argument. No, they didn't go there because there is a sky vacuum. And that is debunked by natural law. If the sky was a vacuum where they have gone, according to you, the gas we breathe would fill the space. Stop appealing to consensus. Just because the telly said that they went there doesn't mean they did, because it's a violation of natural law where they said they went. Well, last chance. Stop interrupting me.
Oh, that's at a break? Okay, so they did go there. There is a vacuum, and the Earth's atmosphere does not escape into it.
That's just your declaration of your fundamentalist religious belief that the sky is a vacuum, proven only by your declaration that the sky is a vacuum and that men you are not have been there. So they, being these men, have been to somewhere that is disproven by natural law. Now, they are liars. For example, M. Scott Veitch's father. A liar who has told you an overt lie. He cannot possibly have visited a sky vacuum. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. That is proven, my cowbell, by natural law, the second law of thermodynamics, and gas law. So unless you've got anything to actually challenge gas law beyond the words of liars like M. Scott Veitch's father, I'm not interested in your consensus view. I've got natural law.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. That's a hand wave. Second law of thermodynamics is natural law. Gas law. These are natural laws. They are not the opinion of a man who lies.
But except he went there.
No, he lied. There is a violation of natural law, the second law of thermodynamics. He did not go there. There has been debunked by natural law. I've debunked it. You just refuse to attack my rebuttal.
No, they went there.
There is a natural law violation. There is a sky vacuum. Not possible by way of natural law. I'm going to kick you out if you don't attack my rebuttal. I'm sick of straw men.
Say it's what's more likely? Either you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Bye-bye. That's Brenda's time over.
Wow.
Brenda was chanting. She was just chanting her religion.
Let's move on with housekeeping. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope.
Nope.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate, and hey, Arwin.
Well, something may be spinning. The ballers' mindset, their arguments, they're spinning axial wise all over the place. Circular arguments, they're constantly rotating.
I would agree with you there, Arwin. I think Brenda's head was spinning there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Circular arguments.
It's 2020, and she came in with astronauts been to space.
It's the ultimate circle jerk, isn't
what
it?
the ballers are.
Arwin's got it right. I just want to say it. Arwin's got it right. Chanting, circular reasoning, saying the same thing, using the thing you asserted to assert the thing you're trying to prove, doing that again and again and again. It's chanting. I don't think you need to cover gas pressure without a container. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
No.
Oh, come on, Arwin.
Well, it's probably
It's over
somewhere
there.
over there behind.
There we go. There it is. It's familiarity, Arwin. I just like hearing it. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Ooh. No. No. Conceptual mediums will be conceptual. And Newton never claimed the hypothesis for his theory on gravitation.
I don't think we have enough time for that gravity.
Well, that depends on how quick you measure the table. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
pop science, pseudoscience.
Oh, did you hear Fight the Flat Earth yesterday? He literally said, "Oh yeah." He basically threw out how it is all scientific and even how math is scientific. It was so silly. Spouted on for like 5 minutes about that shit.
He relinquished science. Explain more. Go ahead.
It was just nonsense. It's just what ballers do. But he was so proud, just saying how you were all wrong about these ridiculous housekeeping questions because it's all science and math is science too. Just nonsense.
No, maths isn't science. Physics deals. Physics
Well, he
is dealing.
said so.
Sure,
He figure out yet if angular velocity is measured in miles per hour? Because he seemed to have trouble with that a little bit.
So physics is dealing with the physical. Mathematics is dealing with the abstract. So maths is not science. Maths is abstract.
Don't think
You
he
know
was
that I
going
realize
by
that
scientific
the
methods.
more someone is quote unquote educated, the harder it is for them to relinquish what has been brainwashed. And because the deeper they went in the education, that science and math and physics and the more they learned about their religion, the deeper they fall into it. And it's harder to pull those people out that are so involved with the lie.
That's not necessarily the rule. So right on the panel now, we've got Adam Meakin. I do agree with you for the most part. But on the other hand, I was privileged enough to watch part of Adam Meakin's rewiring. Now, Adam's very well educated. He was all degreed up. You know, he knows what he's talking about. And certain parts and certain aspects of the way he used to speak were wired with certain pseudoscience aspects without being detrimental.
I think that's fair.
But would you also agree then, Adam, that over this process you've gained a greater appreciation of where correlation is useful but still not necessarily scientifically valid, and scientifically valid is empirical?
Yeah, particularly, like I said, I think I was lucky enough with my chosen subject to have a level. That still didn't mean I didn't assume that things that were presented to me from other fields as science, I would kind of make that assumption. I think that's the learning you see here as we unpick all of these supposed proofs and see that they're naked. They're the emperor with these new clothes. They're religious statements. They're certainly not scientifically demonstrated or proofs. So, I think that's what's been unveiled over the 4 years, and it's a bitter pill to swallow sometimes.
The thing that interested me when you were discussing a lot in length with QE about science in general conversation, one of the things I noticed was what seemed to me like a paradigm change in the way you would describe models, because a lot of medicine is based around modelling things and gaining a better understanding through correlation. Whereas in the heliocentric world, now these departments are obviously worlds apart on campus, if you want to put it into analogy, but you've got people who are describing models and then reifying them versus you utilising a model to gain an understanding about how something might actually correlate with something else.
Yeah, well, medicine's probably quite a good one because we can do science and derive effects, but when we actually make medicines and we're treating people, then it's not really science per se that dictates how we use the medicines. It's correlative studies, because whilst we can scientifically say that this chemical acts at this receptor, when we're talking about individual humans, the way we then decide how we're treating them is correlative, probability-based information. It's not scientific. It's out of 100 people, 3/4 of them do well. That's not science, because there's no direct cause and effect. There's other factors in play there that there's certainly one bit of cause and effect, the bit we can demonstrate of how the drug acts at a receptor type. But there's so many other things that when we get into the treatment of people, then it does become correlative, supported with science in certain areas, but actually the main bulk of it is correlation and probability.
Right. And when you're talking about mathematics, there are certain aspects of mathematics that are very set in stone in terms of what they're dealing with. Geometry is one of them. And BevTry Thinking's out banging this drum at the moment in terms of its perfection. And saying, no, this is ideal for actually making real measurements. That's why it's used. However, when you get to the bait and switch that was attempted by Brenda earlier, she goes from talking about measuring things to talking about calculating things that aren't seen. So you go in a ham-handed way for her, this bait and switch from actual measurements being made and therefore a declaration about the physicality of our world to an extrapolation based on a correlation, based on a geometry that's got a thought experiment for a horizon, and so on and so on and so on. Do you see what I mean? So those sorts of correlations. The point being, back to you, Adam, more importantly, is that when you've got these education structures being utilised to train someone in medicine, their part of the campus isn't necessarily going to be intertwined in any way, shape or form with the chemistry department, if you know what I mean. Or the astronomy department would be a better example, far better example. So you don't know what's going on in the astronomy department, but you might come across certain information and it's also got science above its banner and you're not in that department, but they're doing science like you're doing science, right?
Yeah, and I think we, professional respect, you would assume that, and it's only when you get your eyes open you start to look at it. And John Dee's another great example. He's probably worse than me, because once you open that can of worms, he's off ripping everything apart. Do you know what I mean? But there is that assumption that the people in the other department are just as critical as you, and therefore you're probably mistaken. And because it's not your field, you don't go digging into it. That's the way the web is woven.
Indeed. Yeah, it's realising that they've got a load of nonsense in certain departments and other departments are perfectly legitimate and valid with all of their methodology. That's why we ask for any scientific hypothesis from the fields of astronomy, cosmology or astrophysics deemed science. Just a quick shout out to Slick James Johnson. Yes, indeed, Slick James Johnson. The argument earlier was in regards to Biruni and in making measurements. Well, they haven't got any straight lines because they go higher in the atmosphere, and obviously there's all those thinning out layers to cause greater degree of refraction. So yeah, right on, Slick. Good to see you, by the way.
Out Slick, I haven't heard his voice for a while.
Where do you guys?
I missed the game.
Go on, Neil.
How are you? I'm driving, so I don't want to cause audio chaos. I don't know if you can hear the background, but I'm journeying into the city today. So let's see what.
Cool. Sure, it's deserted in the most part. Nice. Get to see woke people.
I'm still on the freeway.
Try and chat to some people that aren't in areas that are actually, for designated public use, like shopping centres. They're not good places, but places that are just out and about in general, that you wouldn't have a reason to be. They're good places. So in the last couple of weeks, I've had some great conversations with people just literally randomly met on the street. And I'm going to do a quick shout out before we get to the end. Should be doing housekeeping. Before I get to the end, I'll just shout out for him. So Sean, over on channel Mindfulness, has been doing like a little vlog series since the coronavirus started. I just want to give him a big shout out because I've really enjoyed his videography over the last couple of weeks, and I hope people go and subscribe to him. If I'm watching this on the after show with you, I will stick a link to one of his videos in the chat feed so you can go and check him out. But he was echoing my sentiments almost exactly the same timeline as I was talking about them on this show, just by coincidence. He was out literally doing it on video though, so he's out and about on the street just saying, what do you make of the current situation, what do you think, have you thought about this, were you aware of that sort of thing. And yeah, big shout out to you, Sean. Mindfulness is the name of the YouTube channel, check him out. only got a couple of housekeeping questions left. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope.
No.
Not in Nottingham, mate.
Not in Nottingham.
Got to say it proper
I'm
like
sure
a
Brenda
local.
has evidence.
Of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? No way.
What do you mean? It's there. Check the sky. It's there. There's gas.
Oh, I see. Her evidence would be, it is a molten iron core. Well, why? Because it is! Because we know. That's why.
But she can't say people are.
That's right, maybe next Tuesday sometime. Last but by no means least, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Nope.
Now, where are they gonna get it from? At this point, you know, they don't have a geometrical.
Hi,
curvature.
Brenda. I have a couple of questions.
He's not here.
Are you a complete sucker for punishment?
Yes.
You will never, ever
Yes, he
get
is.
someone
I'm sorry.
like Nathan Oakley to lose a debate on flat Earth. It's impossible to lose.
I appreciate the sentiment. That's not strictly true.
Spoilers.
Go back to any episode in the low 200s and below, and you'll see me lose plenty. And Anthony Riley.
Nathan was able to get all the ball to finally admit that gravity is not a force. Then you guys decided perhaps it's an effect, at which point Hollywood's special effects department brought in to help with the laugh. Now it moved on to something else. And when that something else gets completely debunked, it'll move to something else. And you'll keep moving this gravitational force, which never exists, or ever did exist, unless, of course, you're Einstein. And then you'll probably wonder, why did Einstein lie? And that's because he was fed little kid. You have no idea how many girls this guy got pregnant that were underage.
Let's what? Where? I know he was.
So,
He married his
there's
cousin.
your Einstein guy.
Any evidence for that?
Well, no, let's not worry about the evidence of his paedophilia, if it's true or not. Moreover, the fact that he's got an idea of a bending medium called space-time, and that's nonsense. You can't bend mediums. You can't bend love. You can't bend freedom. These are all concepts. Space-time is just a concept. His motivation is...
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Party Poet. We're responding to you, but your line's very broken. So there's big long pauses between what you're saying as
Oh, sorry. I was writing a message to Brenda because I thought I was muted. But I was hoping that you could give me like a really good explanation. One, I'm a flat earther, so I don't have a problem there. But I was hoping you could explain to me how to argue or debate the horizon when they say it's looming. And then they do not want to bring up the points. The only thing they will say is light bends through one medium into another. And that's all. So how do I get them at least to admit there's a few points?
Well, before you go through all of the list, that's just address that first one. So what do you do when they say, no, it's not a geometric horizon that you're seeing. the light that you're seeing's bent. What's your response to that? Your response to that is, welcome to flat Earth. You want to know why?
Yeah, it doesn't go very far. It works great on your show, but outside of your show, shit flies fast.
Sure, but you got to know why.
They won't tell you. All they'll say, bending from one medium to another. They'll not mention which law of refraction anymore. You killed their refraction, so now they won't even bring up refraction.
Okay.
But they'll still keep the horizon.
Let me just explain why it's welcome to flat Earth at that point. I'll just explain it to you. We only have one horizon. Their horizon, marked with an X and labelled horizon in their geometric model, is, surprise, surprise, a geometric horizon. And a geometric horizon is a visible location. So their assertion, fact, is we have, according to sphere, Earth, religion, a, singular, geometric horizon. The horizon, according to the globe model, is geometric. That is a fact. As soon as they say no, we have a second horizon that's not that horizon in the model marked with an X labelled labelled horizon in the geometric model. It's not that horizon because the horizon we see, this is where you asked me the question, is refracted. Therefore, not geometric. But we've only got one horizon. If they declare the horizon we see is not geometric, and we've only got one horizon, then we've not got the geometric assertion of the geometric model. Welcome to flat Earth.
Yeah, I wouldn't. The only place Welcome to Flat Earth works is on this show. Everywhere else, you'll get screamed at for saying.
That's okay. let them share their pain.
It only doesn't work because they don't understand the argument. That's the reason it doesn't work, and they'll just keep asserting that they have two horizons, or we've never seen the geometric horizon, because they don't understand. Their model requires geometry.
Exactly.
And they're denying it by saying that they can't see this very geometry. So how did they ever measure the geometry in the first place?
Exactly. Their defense.
Oh, they measure it, but then afterwards, thanks to all of the air conditions, you're standing in hot air and it's cold air down there. And that's why it got brought up. 20 miles or 30 miles.
Okay, so not geometric then. Like their model's geometric. To put it another way, when they say they haven't got a geometric horizon, they, the globeheads, must have a geometric horizon. It's a geometric model they're using to claim Earth's a sphere. So it's not oh well, we'll no longer use our assertion that we've got a geometric horizon today. Today it's refracted. As soon as it's refracted, it's not geometric anymore. They're admitting it. That's what they're saying. That's why as soon as it's not geometric, it's not the horizon in their model. So they've lost. The fact they don't understand they've lost. Just let me summarise. The fact that they don't understand they've lost and dig their grave a little deeper by saying, no, you don't understand just how non-geometric refracted that light is. You don't understand that the light we're seeing isn't travelling to our eye in a straight line, like we'd need for geometry. That's them digging a deeper grave. Now, you're saying it only works on this show when I say welcome to Flat Earth. Well, what's working? Me making the point that I've won? Because they don't accept it. Brenda's not going to say, oh, thank you. Yes, I understand now I'm on a flat. No, it doesn't work in the way you're phrasing it. It only works if you understand the argument and you explain the argument well enough so that your opponent also, at least at some level, understands the argument and how they're being debunked. And then at the poignant moment when you detect the penny has dropped in your opponent, you welcome them to Flat Earth. That's how it works. But that's me. I'm ace. You know, what can I say? I'm just joking. But I am ace.
And the other one is,
Yes, you are.
why is it that you guys don't want to try the experiment where people are standing in two different continents staring at the sky? Because that would kill the argument pretty quick if everybody's staring at the sky from two different spots, like seriously,
I've done
at the
that.
same time.
I've done that. I did it live. Did a 24-hour stint twice called Tracking the Sun on a Flat Earth Live. And we got people to track their sunrise and sunset and solar noon. So that's been done in multiple locations across the plane.
I must have missed.
Now it really gets interesting when you do that all over the world. You also keep track of how the moon looks like and where it is, and then you cross-reference all of that and what is the rotation point exactly of the moon and its shadow supposedly. Now try to compare all that. Now there it gets really freaky.
Yes, that's already been done as well. Tracking the moon on a flat Earth live. I'm sure someone else did do that. I can't remember who to plug them. I'm really sorry if you're the person who did that. But yes, that has been done also, I believe. Sorry to piss on your bonfire.
I've just seen separate videos. Like, oh, look at this. That doesn't really line up.
But even then, you're just observing things in the sky. They don't have geometry. They don't have a radius, as we've just discussed. So it's not killing any argument. There's no argument to kill. They don't have a radius. So
I'd like to touch on something that Party Poet was talking about earlier on. You say that the Globers understand that in order to have refraction, you need to have a temperature gradient, correct?
They claim that, yeah.
No, that actually is true, though. You actually need a temperature gradient in order to have refraction. That is a fact. So my question is, do you understand what conditions are required for looming or sinking?
Yeah, the absence of a good zooming camera.
No, actually, in order to have sinking, all that's required is a temperature differential. Cold air over warm air would result in light bending towards a denser medium, causing things to sink. And inversely, looming is the opposite of that. So if you have cold air below warm air, the light's going to bend towards a colder air since it's denser, causing things to loom. So what I'm leading to with this is that we know for a fact that warm air tends to rise up, and our atmosphere generally gets colder with altitude. So the higher up you go, the colder it is in comparison to the surface of Earth. So if those are the conditions that remain constant, where we have cold air on top of warm air, aren't we always going to see sinking? Aren't we always going to see inferior mirages? Because those are the conditions required for that.
Yeah.
Before I actually answer your question, I want to explain to you, this is exactly why Nathan screams on every goddamn show you ever listen. The guy did 6 months of showing you a boat that's like 30 miles out, the one with the shark kind of looking mouth front there. That's all I remember from that. 30 miles out, there's the boat. Was that a lucky day?
No, you need to realize the people that we're talking to. We're talking to people that that just don't get it. I mean, we have to continuously explain these things over and over again just because we're talking to religious zealots that don't understand that there can be an alternative model in comparison to what they're following. They don't believe that alternatives are possible. That's the problem.
No, they're listening to people who are being paid by NASA to sit there and throw BS out that some moron is willing to bite on and chew. Because at one point, I will tell you, I said to myself, I am not going to listen to this show for the next 6 months if I hear one more Isle of Man statement. Because I don't know how many times you can possibly explain it over and over again before it sinks in. Apparently, it won't sink in if I'm being paid not for it to sink in. My famous Woody Woodpecker went to get a pair of glasses, closed his eyes, and never got the right pair of glasses.
Okay,
Ta-da!
just sorry to cut you off. Right, we don't know that's the case, so that might be your opinion. But here, let's just focus on the argument, regardless of what the competitor's motivation is. In this regard, I just want to summarise this point, though, because your original question was in regards to what do you do when somebody is explained that you don't have a geometric horizon, and they just say, as a defence, it's refracted. Do you appreciate from what Babs has just... Was it Babs? Yeah, it was Babs. What Babs has just gone through, that if you're dealing with refraction, you're dealing with the light bending. First, I just want a quick yes. You appreciate that if the light's refracted, it's travelled through a straight path that's then deviated. You appreciate that, yes?
Very much.
Perfect. So, given that you appreciate that the light that's going to be drawn from horizon to eye is bent, and geometry has got a straight line being drawn to that point, do you appreciate that the two are completely mutually exclusive of one another?
Well, see, I would say yes, but a ball boy would say that's because it only appears straight, but it's not.
But in geometry, it's irrelevant of whether or not it's an apparent this or could be something else. In geometry, it just is a straight line between the point you're measuring, and that's set in stone. As soon as it's not that, it's not that. So them arguing that it's bent is to break their own argument, because their argument's requiring a straight line to do geometry. So welcome to Flat Earth. You haven't got a straight line for your geometry then? If it's refracted, welcome to Flat Earth. No geometry for the globe then? Welcome to Flat Earth.
So it can't refract on a globe? Is what you're saying?
Not if you're going to be doing geometry. That would require a straight line to a physical geometric point called a tangent, where that straight line touches the curved surface physically. So you're drawing a straight line to a physical point, not a bent line to a point you can't see because it's moved to a different point. Then you're not doing geometry anymore. And if we're not doing geometry, we're not proving a globe with Earth curve calculators. So no Earth curve calculator to prove Earth curve obstruction, formerly called the geometric horizon then, all refracted. Bye globe geometry. Bye assertion we can prove it from the ground. Bye comparing pictures to the mathematics of a Earth that's sphere-shaped. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah, on the in the flat Earth paradigm, the reason that we have a horizon dip is because of a temperature differential resulting in sinking refraction and the inferior miraging of the sky, making it appear as though the horizon has shifted downwards when in fact it's just the sky being inferior miraged. Whereas in the globe Earth paradigm, the horizon drop is due to Earth curve.
Well put, and I'm glad there was a pause. There is only one assertion in Earth curve geometry. I'll just repeat that. Earth curve geometry. That assertion would be that physical Earth curve obstructs things in the distance. And that physical Earth curve obstruction, measured with straight lines in geometry, is their physical geometric Earth curve edge, formerly known as the horizon, marked with an X labelled horizon in their geometric model. And they're telling you, we don't have that. We've got a second horizon. The geometric one can't be seen anymore. Well, then it can't be seen. Then it's not there. Then we can't measure it. Then we don't have globe geometry. It's welcome to flat Earth. I don't know how much more clear I can make it. That's my best effort.
Okay, the second one I have is I brought up the fact that we cannot possibly have satellite dishes going to a satellite because of the angle. And they brought up the fact that a microwave signal can be fired for about 40 or 50,000 kilometers before it degrades, according to them. So I said, this can't be right. Best you can get is 50 miles, which they're not even
where
using.
Are satellites
But-
supposed to be again?
Well, let him get to the end, Chocolate. You can take up the reins. Go ahead. Finish your argument in its summary, if you would, please. Sorry, Chocolate interrupted, and I did. I couldn't help it.
Well, no, it wasn't my argument. Their argument was. Go ahead, Chocolate.
He hasn't
Tell me how
interrupted you. I want you to summarise the argument that you received in terms of satellites, the 50,000 K distance of transmission, and their rebuttal or your rebuttal, and then Chocolate's going to address it.
They gave me a website that calculates how to calculate the strength of a microwave signal. And then he plugged in all his numbers and said, there you go. I mean, I can show you the website if you want.
No.
But
I've got a website that shows you how strong unicorn farts can be fired.
That's not where we're going, though, Adam. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, Chocolate. I detect you were going where I was going.
Yeah, chocolate kills it quicker.
He said satellites, and all I asked was, where are these satellites supposed to be?
Exactly.
They're supposed to be 202 to 300 miles up above our atmosphere, right?
Hold on. Above gas pressure that wants to expand in all directions. What do you mean above the gas pressure that wants to expand in all directions? There's a region above that region. How is that possible without violating?
It's being held by gravity.
Hold on, mate. I want the concise rebuttal to be heard, please. So, this region that they're in, right, that's in a place that's above gas pressure that wants to expand in all directions to fill the volume that it's in. Well, that description of something above the gas pressure, aka atmosphere, atmo being air, sphere being a fundamentalist religious belief that we're on a sphere. Well, above the air, that doesn't work in terms of natural law. There is no above the air. The gas will expand to fill the volume that's available. Ergo, this place that they're describing this particular satellite to be, I mean, maybe there are balloons up in the atmosphere itself, if you want to describe air as being spherical. But that doesn't change the fact that the region they're describing these satellites out at the horizon, when you've got your satellite dish pointing at the horizon, is a region based on microwave signals or unicorn farts calculated in this website that are in a region that doesn't exist. So the satellites can't possibly be in that place being space. Like we discussed with Brenda, if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we're breathing would fill that space. Ergo, any claim of any mechanical equipment or otherwise in that region is automatically deemed bunk. So no, there's definitely not a satellite in that particular place they're describing at 50,000. How far did you say it was, sorry?
250 miles up. Well, he said he can shoot a signal for 50,000 kilometers, give or take. With the picture, with the calculator he showed me, and I told him I don't have a clue how this works. All I'm going on is by what I was told, and I will happily show this to someone who actually knows what they're talking about and come back to you.
That's fair enough. I mean, that's one way of looking. I could have asked the panel who knows anything about microwave, and let's find out how that works, and let's debunk the assertion from that angle. But it's far quicker. And I'm lazy. I want the short route. I don't want to learn about microwaves, no offence. I want to be able to say, what's that you say? It's out in space? No, I'm afraid not. No, space isn't real. That's far quicker. Like chocolate did. Bang, dead. Arguments ended. Now, it's an interesting folly to then look into microwaves. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, to make a claim of that distance like that, wouldn't you have to validate it by going into a medium that's a violation of the second law?
Exactly.
You could make the claim, but you wouldn't be able to validate it, would you?
No.
I could reckon it's probably near
Exactly.
78,364 miles you can manage, actually.
So then why would you want to continue the conversation about microwaves and all that if one of the particulars that you're talking about is in a place that can't exist? I'm good. Prove that exists first. Then we can talk about your microwaves and all that.
Exactly. It's like arguing about how the gas lamp in Narnia works. We could discuss all day about the mechanics of how a gas lamp can burn when there's a time dilation issue. There's time dilation in Narnia, remember? They go through the wardrobe, they live a normal life, and then when they go back through, they're kids because they haven't actually had that much time pass. Well, how does the gas lamp burn? Now, should we work out the physics of how that gas is working in a time dilation zone, or point out that Narnia's not real?
Listen, I thought the fact that when you brought up, when the flat Earth community brought up that everybody on the ISS has their hair sprayed, that would have killed the ISS. But no, not at all. So
no,
you can say whatever
that's
you
perfect. No, just let me.
And
let
in
me
the
tell
end,
you-
and in the end, some
just let me tell you
dipshit-
onto that. So you've got an assertion that somebody in space has got their hair tied up with gel. That's the argument that you've just described. And you've said, well, clearly they've got hair products in and they're on high wire. Isn't it obvious? Shouldn't that destroy it? No. That's the perfect argument. That's just the kind of argument that they want being perpetuated. Let's argue about whether or not someone's on a high wire in space. Let's argue about whether or not you can float in space. Let's argue about whether or not rockets work in space. Let's worry about how gravity works in space. Well, I say no. Let's point out that space isn't real. It's Narnia. Why are we arguing about the footprints in the snow and how the gas lamp works and whether or not Aslan would have come back to life when Narnia's not real? We don't need to work out the mechanics of the metabolism of a lion in Narnia or a gas that's burning or the footprints in the snow because the place isn't real. So it doesn't matter about whether or not their hair's tied up or if they're on high wire. The place they're claiming to broadcast from isn't real. Ergo, everything in that cinematography is automatically fake. Very quick shortcut. We had it with Brenda earlier. She wants to argue about a certain aspect of space. And every time she tries to do it by saying, hand wave, no, we have got space, I say so. I point out that no, we haven't, gas law. No, we haven't, natural law, second law of thermodynamics, entropy, and they just hand wave it. Doesn't mean I can't keep them there for all eternity. No, with the place you're saying they're going to get this image that you say proves the Earth's a sphere is a place that isn't real. So I don't have to argue about your picture, or your hair gel, or your high wire, or your rockets, or your gravity. I don't have to argue about any of that because it all takes place in a fake place. Moreover, your assertion about a satellite being there, that's the same. No, place you claim that satellite is fake. I don't need to argue about the transmission to it. They want you to, because then you're arguing under the assumption that space is real. So if you win that argument about microwave transmissions, let's just pad it out. You argue that you can't have a transmission that's that strong. And you win, you prove it, you get all the maths, you get a subject matter expert, he demonstrates it unequivocally with a physical demonstration that you cannot transmit that distance. So what have you won? You've proven you can't transmit that far to space. So space is still real at the end of the argument, but you can't transmit that far to space. Oh, well, that'll just require a slight adjustment in the narrative. Well, I'll tell you something for nothing. Pointing out that you can't have gas pressure without a container, there is no adjustment in the narrative to get around that argument. You can hold any fundy to any claim that took place in space, past tense. They're not anymore. To account by just pointing out you can't have gas pressure without a container. Their region that they're claiming these proofs come from violates natural law. That's it. Game over. Bye-bye space. Bye-bye space pictures. And from the ground, bye-bye geometric horizon. It is actually the end of the globe. I know some people have recognised this. There is no way out from here on in. There's no turning back. There's no making the horizon physical again. There's no making the sky a vacuum again. None of that's ever going to turn around. You can't smear layers of nonsense over the top of this. It's game over.
What happens when they say air just keeps sticking to the ground? The higher up you go, the less air there is, and eventually there's no air.
Right, that defies gas law. So gas at a fundamental level is unbonded. It's not sticking to anything. So no, their assertion that you have a force, this magical force that's not a force but you can think of as a force, that's the bending of a conceptual medium known as space-time.
Oh, they've stopped. Now it's an effect, remember?
Doesn't matter.
You killed force. Now it's an effect.
It doesn't matter. Effect, force, Newtonian, Einsteinian, none of them are going to overcome entropy. And Mark Sargent does a really good job. He did it on This Morning, or whatever it's called, with Philip Schofield. And what he explained was very simple. If your first floor was a vacuum, and your ground floor was normal air pressure, like you're breathing, and there's a cork between you and the upper level, if you remove that cork, the gas you're breathing will fill that space. The vacuum above you will take, through way of entropy increase, the gas that you're breathing to dissipate into the space that is available. Gas by its nature is unbonded and freely moving in all directions. So as soon as you remove the cork, one of the gas particles that was bouncing off the cork isn't going to bounce off the cork and it's just going to travel into the vacuum. It's called entropy. Well, that effect isn't being defied by any force or non-force force that you can think of as a force that's the bending of pseudo-Ramonian force space. That's not in any way defying the effect of entropy. You still have entropy increase, as described by Mark Sargent very, very eloquently. So that effect that they describe now, which was formerly a force, isn't going to overcome entropy. The gas will still fill the space. So it doesn't overcome the argument, unfortunately. Just saying gravity and using assumptions that gas can stick to things is a nonsense assertion that violates natural laws.
The other thing that they brought up that I'm having fun with is I told them that magnets lose their ability to become their magnetic ability if they're put under high heat. At 1,000 degrees, no magnet is magnetic, and yet the core has got a magnet.
Yeah, it's one of the housekeeping questions. You can thank Anthony Riley for that. So, well, sort of. There's other people, including Quantum Eraser, but yes, the Curie point is what you're describing, and yeah, that's the reason we ask for any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, because yeah, the temperatures they claim are beyond the Curie point, therefore you'd have no magnetic fields. Unless, of course, you could get that to self-perpetuate. There'll be no demonstrations of this, but that is what they would require to make that assertion in any way pad out. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live on the Nathan Oakley channel, I think there was actually someone who did smash the super chat. Should really thank that person before we go off live. So a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who did smash the super chat, including Mind Warped. God damn, I'm so pleased I didn't miss it. Good evening, one and all. Hope you are all well. Subscribe today to Mind Warped. Click on the 3 dots in his channel name and go to his channel, click on the subscribe button. Subscribe today. Mind Warped does actually produce content. Once again, a massive thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Yep.
Oh. I was...
Oh, got a bit of audio chaos going on. Everyone okay?
Oh, yeah. They basically said that the reason why it's magnetic is because the magma down there is still moving. And because of the movement, you have magma. I don't know how to explain that to them.
No, I understand what you're saying, but they're just saying that. So is there any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of presupposed spherical Earth? I know they say that.
Other than smoking grass, Tyson? No.
Right, so there's no evidence of this self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. They just say that there is one.
Yeah, you see, the key part of that question is at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth. See, we've already debunked the sphericity of the Earth, right? By debunking the radius. So there is no spherical Earth. Therefore, there's no self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of it.
Right.
That's the beauty of that question. So it's like a self-answering question.
You know the origin story of the molten iron core?
By the way, Nathan, you have a little kid right now. Are you aware that they're no longer teaching the emperor wears no clothes in school?
Did they teach it in school? I didn't know they did teach specifically that. It's just a...
No, they're wiping stuff out, dude. Just because I brought this up a few weeks ago. I remember on one of the other shows going, don't you think it's funny that they taught you the emperor wears no clothes later on only to shove gravity and the sphere in your face? And then everybody's like, what's that story about? And I'm like, the whole panel doesn't even have a clue what that story is. I had to tell the whole story over again.
Perfect. Can you tell it again?
A guy shows up into town without completely broke and comes up with a story that he sells the king. He's got this really beautiful thread. It's absolutely beautiful. But if you're retarded, you can't see it. Only intelligent people can see this thread. So the king decided to get himself an entire outfit made out of this magical thread and took it for a walk down the street after it was made. And the only person who spoke up...
Hold on. You missed a bit. So there's a little in-between bit. So...
Well, there's a whole lot of in-between.
I just want to put the in-between bit's quite pertinent, though, so to the programming. So the in-between bit, the negotiation takes place between the king and the merchant. The merchant agrees to make the whole outfit, but it's going to take a lot of time. So the merchant he's given a little bit of space in the castle, and he's there, and everyone in the castle is all around watching him all day long, sewing his invisible thread. And they're watching him do it all day, all night. He's sewing the invisible thread, and he's hanging it up on the coat hangers, and he's getting all the material ready, and they're all watching him do it with the invisible thread. And at the end, he hands the coat to the king and the outfit, and the king's very pleased with it. And then the story continues. Go ahead.
King takes the outfit for a walk, and the only person who says he can't see the outfit is a little kid. After the little kid starts screaming, no, I still can't see it, I don't care what you say. And then in the end, the emperor's naked in the middle of the street. Turns out.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Then they told you gravity and the spinning ball. I could not understand why they would possibly teach you about the emperor.
Well, the moral of the story is don't buy cheap thread.
That's the only moral?
And I thought it was the earth as a ball is naked.
I thought it was don't fall for BS, but...
Yeah, don't fall for BS and consensus opinion. Everyone in the castle's telling everyone in the town about the beautiful clothes. When the story gets elaborated, or the way I heard it, the padding for the story is about how the the handmaids and the servants in the castle are telling all the townspeople about this dress, it all gets hammed up about how this outfit's being made, and it's the most magical, amazing thread, and that permeates amongst the community. So the community get told about how the king's going to come out in this most amazing dress, and everyone's telling them about how it's magical thread, and all the people get told this news, and they're all very expectant about the king showing off his new outfit. So when the king comes out, everybody nods along. Oh, yes, of course, beautiful, yes, yes, your majesty, because they want to please the king. And so everybody's agreeing with the king who's telling them that it's a lovely outfit, until a kid says, he's got no clothes on! And they go, shh! No, he's definitely got no clothes on, I can see his willy! And the king's suddenly really embarrassed and runs in, and everyone's just fallen for a lie because it's consensus opinion. Everyone's just told everyone else that it's beautiful, so they all agree.
So when is King Ball gonna get embarrassed?
To me, it reminds me of that video with the little kids that are watching the rockets take off, and as the rockets are starting to do their leveling off and starting to look like they're coming down, the kids are sitting there saying it looks bad. They look like they're coming down. You know, and all the adults are sitting there trying to work it out, like, yeah, you know, it's the spin of the earth, or, you know, whatever, and they're clapping in the background. Meanwhile, the kids are like, that looks bad. It doesn't, it's going down.
That was epic.
It's that innocence of being a kid to say, no, that's not what's going on. This guy's naked. He's not running around with clothes on. Why does everybody not see that?
That's the perfect analogy, Chocolate. Absolutely ideal. So yeah, when I describe the childlike wonderment that I experience now, that is the perfect example. Exactly. A kid standing watching a rocket launch and saying, they're going to crash, it's coming back down. And then immediately one of the parents or guardians launches into a talk about gravity, bullshitting his way through it with nonsense and seeming more intelligent to the kid on a surface level. And at the end of his spiel, the kid says, no, it's coming back down. Because he's looking at it. The kid's got the evidence of his own eyes. And he's more than happy to declare the evidence of his own eyes. So the moral of the story when it comes to the Emperor's new clothes is don't disbelieve the evidence of your own eyes.
The eyes your creator gave you, as opposed to the science man showed you, right?
Yeah, people see what they want to see.
Something pertinent to the story of invisible thread. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Energy mass equivalence. Have you guys thought about the formula E equals mc squared? And do any of you know or see anything wrong with it?
See anything wrong with what? Sorry, I was reading a message from Bev. Try thinking that I'm going to stick up on screen about geometry, but go. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Albert Einstein energy mass equivalence.
Yeah, I already went over this.
E equals mc squared.
Yeah, I already went over this a number of times in a number of different presentations that apparently you haven't watched.
Yeah, maybe I have watched it, but I can't recall.
Yeah.
It's something I thought about for a long time. We know that in this formula, m supposedly was supposed to be a variable, right? But I can't, for the life of me, understand what c squared is doing there. It's a constant.
Doesn't matter anyway. Any equation, you have to define each variable rigorously. Energy, according to Richard Feynman, no one knows what energy is. If you say energy is the availability to do work, then no problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Then define mass. You're never going to define mass anyway. So let's suppose.
I wasn't done yet. What do you mean you'll never define mass? Could you explain that?
Hold on, guys. Before we go into there, so I just want to take that.
I'm sorry. Did the middle of my sentence interrupt the beginning of yours? I'm done. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Let me finish quickly. So even if we assume the energy and mass are defined, c squared is a constant. like it shouldn't even be there. It just makes the number bigger. That's all it does. See what I mean?
I think you were getting an answer, but because you interrupted it, no one wants to respond. I'm just going to read out what Bev Try Thinking's read out, because I want to get Quantum Eraser's reaction to it. Geometry is an, in quotes, exact science. It leaves nothing to chance, except for its axioms. It can prove... Who's rustling? Who's rustling in G+? Oi.
It was me going for my sandwich. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'd unmute because you said my fault.
That's okay. It is precise. It is definite. By it, we buy and sell our land, navigate our ships upon pathless oceans, foretell eclipses and measure time. All science rests upon mathematics, and mathematics is first and last geometry, whether we can call extension trigonometry or differential calculus or any other name. Geometry is the ultimate fact. We have one out of puzzling universe. There are no ultimate facts of which the human mind can take cognizance, which we are more certain, more fundamental than the facts of geometry. Carl H. Claudy.
He's a moron. Geometry is not science.
I'll say I liked it all bar that first bit, John.
Not saying that the geometry is not true. It's just not science.
He's
a
completely
pseudoscientist.
agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree.
As soon as I saw that posted from Bev, I thought...
That's exactly what I did.
Stick the science in there straight away. I do like the latter bit, in terms of there's no more, a reality for us. It's. I thought the description afterwards, there is no ultimate facts of which the human mind can take cognizance, which are more certain, more fundamental than the facts of geometry. Is something you can totally confirm, both with the, like I say, with Emperor's New Clothes, with your eyes, but also you can confirm that with the other senses. It is.
Speaking of geometry, Nathan, can I revisit how the show began with the question and then the P and the Q from Brenda? I just want to make sure I wrote it down right.
Sure, go ahead.
Brenda came and asked if I had any proof that the Earth was flat. I said I did. And I said, let me pose it to you in the question. I said, are there any fixed values that apply to the real world? Followed by, is there geometric horizon an actual location, or is it a thought experiment? Brenda answered, it's a real location. It's actual. Then Brenda did a P and a Q. And I think
First of all, let me interrupt because Brenda would never tell you that that's a real location. She will tell you there's several locations out there. There's not just one horizon, according to her.
No, hang
There's
on. Hang on. I'm addressing this show in the pre-show where Brenda said yes. And we didn't elaborate on the obfuscation of it, but the answer was a clear yes. The geometric horizon is an actual location. So we're going by that. And then Brenda said, if something that does not exist, then Q, you can't see it. Is that the way Brenda said it?
Yes.
Okay. So if something that does not exist, that's Brenda's P, then Brenda's Q is that you can't see it. Isn't that the opposite of the answer of it being actual?
And the answer that she gave, given that she said it is actual.
Yeah, that's the opposite, right?
Yeah, so her assertion that a formal logical fallacy was being utilized stood in contradiction to her original assertion that you can see a geometric horizon.
Yeah, exactly. I've been waiting the whole show to bring that up, but I'm glad I was able to round it out.
The scary part is you were evaluating Brenda's P's and Q's.
Yeah, well, it was fun.
Well, she brought it up, so it's either call her an idiot or actually go through it.
We want to take another stab at E equals MC squared. I'm thinking a lot of people were left wanting.
You're asking me? Go ahead.
Yeah. E equals
Go.
MC squared. Let me start over again. Every variable in any equation you can ask any mytho-mathematician has to be rigorously defined. E, let's just take E. According to Richard Feynman, you can't define the damn thing. So we could essentially stop right there. But we won't. We'll go to M. E equals M. That equals E is M. Mass. Right? You can't define, mass is undefined. So you got two variables in the equation. I don't have to go to C squared. You got two variables already in the equation that can't be defined. Now, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and define E as the capability to do work, right? Which is what they're going to say anyway. They're the availability energy do work, right? Equals M, and we'll make M matter. Okay. How in the world can the availability do work equal matter? Can somebody tell me?
Seems nonsensical.
Because when you introduce light, everything works out. I mean, what's his name there that said the moment you introduce gravity, everything works out.
Hold on.
Doesn't work out.
Hold on.
But it doesn't, though. That's the thing. It doesn't.
I know that, and you know that.
But just address his question. Hold on, either of you. Just address his question. If E is the amount of available work that can be done, and M is matter, how can the available amount of work that can be done equal an amount of matter? How can that statement be true, is the question.
I think they were referring to nuclear detonation or nuclear reaction, something like that. I'm trying to remember
they weren't.
as to what the...
They weren't. Has nothing to do with it.
Well, when you talk to supposed scientists, the BCAC answer is nuclear bombs, right?
Well, then you're not talking to scientists, and I want to know exactly who you're talking to.
No, I'm not talking to any scientists. It's just something that I've been told by a programming.
Yeah, well, something you've been told that's not going to cut it. You're going to have to get some cowbell, get some citations in here.
No.
So if you look at it, you'll find that that's not true. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that, QE. But what I was trying to point out is this formula essentially can't do without C squared, even if the two are defined, is what I'm trying to say. You're going like one step deeper than that. And I was merely pointing out that E equals MC squared is essentially the same as E equals M times 1, because C squared is a constant. And for the life of me, I don't understand why C squared is even there.
Sounds cool though, doesn't it?
Come again?
Sounds cool. Looks ace if you write it on a chalkboard in massive letters and then draw a big circle around it. Looks cool.
Exactly, and that's what I was trying to dovetail to Emperor Has No Clothes. It's like everybody parroted it for the fear of looking stupid, right? Not even thinking like fucking C squared shouldn't even be there. Like it's just crazy.
They can leave it there. C. Well, where's C at? In a vacuum? Where's the vacuum? C? Thanks.
Wait, why does your C have to be in a vacuum?
But the C is a constant. That's the point.
My C isn't in there.
Where did C come from? Where was C derived from?
Like for the purpose of this argument, it doesn't really matter. The C, as far as formula and definition is concerned, is constant.
Yeah, but
constantly what?
Yeah, what is it?
I don't know, some number.
190,000 miles a second, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't C supposed to be the speed of light?
Yeah.
Speed of light and what?
Yeah, yeah.
In Narnia.
Who measured that?
In a vacuum.
Prosecution rest.
In a vacuum.
Thanks.
That's what they're saying.
Sorry, I think if we just can first solve the problem of how the gas lamp burns in Narnia, that's what we need to do first.
How does gas what?
How does the gas lamp burn in Narnia, given that there's a time dilation difference in Narnia?
It's gravity.
Not in Narnia. You know? No. There's no gravity in Narnia. You just never been to Narnia. They've been to Narnia, though. You just don't know what you're talking about.
Gene,
remember in Narnia, there's a city in the clouds.
I got a couple of paragraphs there, guys. On this, just to take the end of the equation apart as well, with regards to the constant, the speed of light. It's a bit old, but it's from Rupert Sheldrake. Just a couple of paragraphs. It's not surprisingly, early measurements of the speed of light varied considerably, but by 1927, the measured values had converged to 299,796 kilometers per second. At the time, the leading authority on the subject concluded the present value of C is entirely satisfactory and can be considered more or less permanently established. However, all around the world, from 1928 to 1945, the speed of light dropped by about 20 kilometers per second. The best value found by leading investigators were impressively close agreement with each other. Some scientists suggested that the data pointed to cyclic variations in the velocity of light. In the late 1940s, the speed of light went up again by about 20 kilometers per second, and a new consensus developed around the higher value. In 1972, the embarrassing possibility of variations in the speed of light was eliminated when the speed of light was fixed by definition. In addition, in 1983, the unit of distance, the meter, was redefined in the terms of light. Therefore, if any further changes in the speed of light did happen, we will be blind to them because the length of the meter will change with the speed of light.
The speed of light changed along with the distance to the sun.
In other words, it's a convention. It's just a convention, people.
Hold on. Exactly. Who was that quote?
That's actually out of one of Rupert Sheldrake's TED Talks on constants. It goes through a lot of them, but that's probably the most stitched up one, is the speed of light.
Perfect. Thank you, Adam. Excellent.
The speed of light will have changed along with the distance to the sun, because they started out with the pre-assumption that Kepler's Earth analemma around the sun was correct. But when they had to change the distance to the sun, they had to change the speed of light.
Precisely.
Over time.
Exactly. Without the R value, the entire model falls in upon itself. And that's what we're watching. We're watching the globe model implode. And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live and after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 audience for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!